The massive orbital station hung above Valar Prime like a jeweled crown. Ships from across the galaxy docked at its many ports. Some vessels stretched over a kilometer long, their hulls covered in glowing crystals. Others looked like living creatures, all curves and organic surfaces. The station itself could hold 1 million beings, and today it seemed like half of them had come to watch. Captain Han Jiwoo stood at the bridge viewport of the Defiant, watching the alien ships drift past. Her reflection stared back at her, a woman in her 30s with tired eyes and a military bearing that came from 15 years of service. Behind her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. "We're being scanned again," Commander Park Minho said from his tactical station. He was younger than Jiwoo, barely 30, but he had the sharpest tactical mind in the Earth fleet. "That's the 7th time in the last hour." "Let them look," Jiwoo said calmly. "They won't find anything we don't want them to find." Lieutenant Choi Yuna looked up from the engineering console. She was the youngest officer on the bridge, only 26, but she knew every centimeter of this ship better than anyone alive. "The quantum dampeners are holding perfectly, Captain. As far as their sensors can tell, we're running on basic fusion drives and conventional weapons." Jiwoo nodded. She turned back to watch as the Defiant moved slowly toward its assigned docking port. Their ship looked so small compared to the others. Just 200 meters from nose to tail, with a plain metallic hull that had no special glow, no impressive decorations, nothing to suggest it was anything but ordinary. She could almost hear what the aliens were thinking. Primitive. Backward. Weak. Good. Let them think that. The docking procedure completed, and within an hour, Jiwoo found herself walking through the station's grand corridor toward the council chamber. Ambassador Lee Dae-hyun walked beside her, his diplomatic robes looking plain next to the elaborate outfits of passing aliens. He was an older man, nearly 60, with gray hair and a face that had learned to show nothing. "They're going to mock us," Lee said quietly. "I've heard the whispers already. Some species are taking bets on how quickly we'll fail the trials." "Let them bet," Jiwoo replied. "We didn't come here to make friends, we came here to earn respect." The council chamber was enormous. Thousands of seats rose in circular tiers around a central platform. Representatives from dozens of species filled those seats. Jiwoo saw the insect-like Velkari, their crystalline bodies catching the light. The massive Torgans sat in reinforced seats, their gray skin looking like stone. The reptilian Shal kept to the shadows, their yellow eyes watching everything. Ambassador Lee stepped onto the central platform. Jiwoo remained at the edge with her senior officers. Commander Park stood to her right, Lieutenant Choi to her left. They wore their dress uniforms, dark blue with simple silver insignia. Compared to the elaborate armor and robes around them, they looked like children playing soldier. "Honored Council," Lee began, his voice amplified by the chamber's systems. "Earth requests formal recognition and full membership in the galactic community. As required by Council law, we submit our primary military vessel for evaluation and fleet trials." A hologram of the Defiant appeared above the platform. Immediately, Jiwoo heard laughter. It started small, just a few chuckles, but it spread through the chamber like a wave. Some species tried to hide their amusement. Others laughed openly. A massive Torgan stood from his seat. Admiral Krevmos, Jiwoo recognized him from the briefing files. He commanded the 3rd Torgan battle fleet over 200 warships. His voice boomed across the chamber. "This is what Earth sends? This toy?" More laughter echoed around them. "Our scout ships are larger than this. Our cargo haulers have more weapons. Does Earth truly expect us to take this seriously?" Lee's expression didn't change. "The Defiant meets all Council specifications for fleet trial submissions. Length, crew complement, power systems, and weapons loadout all fall within the required parameters." "Parameters mean nothing if the ship is useless," Krevmos shot back. "Look at it. Plain metal hull, basic design, no advanced shielding that our sensors can detect. This vessel would not last 5 minutes in real combat." The Velkari Queen rose next. Her body glowed with shifting colors. When she spoke, a translator device converted her crystalline chiming into words everyone could understand. Humanity is young. Perhaps they do not understand what true military power requires. Their ship is adequate for a species just learning to leave their homeworld, but inadequate for council membership. Jiwoo felt her jaw tighten. She wanted to speak, to defend her ship and her crew. But this wasn't her moment. This was Lee's arena, and he handled it with the patience of a career diplomat. The council trials will demonstrate the Defiant's capabilities, Lee said firmly. We request only the opportunity to prove ourselves through performance, not appearance. More voices joined the criticism. The Velkari pointed out that Earth had no crystalline technology. The Torgans noted the lack of plasma weapons. A species called the Nethrim complained that human ships couldn't even achieve faster than light travel without using jump gates. Through it all, one group remained silent. The Shal delegation sat in their shadowed section watching. Commander Ryuvik, their military leader, studied the hologram of the Defiant with narrow eyes. His scaled fingers tapped slowly on his armrest. Finally, the council speaker called for order. She was a Velkari, ancient and respected. The mockery will cease. Earth has followed proper protocols. They will receive their trial as council law requires. She turned to face the human delegation. Captain Han Jiwoo of Earth, your vessel will undergo standard combat trials in 3 days. You will face 3 waves of automated combat drones. Your performance will be evaluated by council observers. Success will grant Earth provisional membership. Failure will result in a century-long waiting period before you may apply again. Do you accept these terms? Jiwoo stepped forward onto the platform. Every eye in the chamber focused on her. She felt the weight of billions of humans back home, all depending on this moment. She thought of her crew aboard the Defiant, good people who had trained for years for this chance. She remembered the scientists who had worked in secret for a decade to build what others thought impossible. We accept, she said clearly. Her voice didn't waver. The Defiant will be ready. More laughter rippled through the chamber, though quieter now. The council speaker declared the session closed. As the various delegations began to leave, Admiral Krevmos walked past the human group. He looked down at Jiwoo from his impressive height. 3 days, human. I almost pity you. Your little ship will be torn apart and your species will slink back to your small planet for another 100 years. He leaned closer. Perhaps that is for the best. The galaxy is no place for the weak. He walked away before Jiwoo could respond. Commander Park started to say something angry, but Jiwoo raised her hand to stop him. Save it, she said quietly. We'll answer him in 3 days, not with words. As they walked back through the station, corridors toward their docking port, Lieutenant Choi spoke softly. Captain, did you see the Shal commander? He was studying our ship's specs very carefully. I saw, Jiwoo replied. He's smart, smarter than the others. He suspects something. Is that a problem? Park asked. Jiwoo smiled, a cold expression that never reached her eyes. No, let him suspect. In 3 days, everyone will know the truth anyway. They reached the Defiant and boarded. The ship felt like home after the alienness of the station. As Jiwoo walked onto the bridge, her crew looked up expectantly. Well? Lieutenant Kang Hyun asked from the weapons station. How bad was it? They laughed at us, Jiwoo said simply. They called our ship a toy. They think we're going to fail. The bridge crew exchanged glances. Then Lieutenant Nam Jisoo grinned from the communications station. Good. That means the dampeners worked perfectly. They have no idea what we really are. Jiwoo sat in her command chair and looked at the view screen. Outside, the massive alien warships floated like sleeping giants, confident and powerful. They thought Earth was weak. They thought the Defiant was nothing.
3 days, she said to her crew. In 3 days, we show them what humanity really built, what we're really capable of. Until then, we wait. We prepare. And we let them keep thinking we're nothing. She paused, then added quietly. Because the best weapon is the one your enemy never sees coming.
The bridge crew nodded. They understood. Earth hadn't sent a toy to the trials. Earth had sent a message, and in 3 days, that message would be written in fire across the galaxy's sky. 5 years earlier, Dr. Kim Sora stood in a laboratory deep beneath the Nevada desert. The facility didn't officially exist. No government record mentioned it. The few hundred scientists who worked there had all vanished from public life, their deaths faked, their families told they were on classified assignments. Sora stared at the equations covering the holographic display. She was 40 years old, and she'd spent the last 20 of those years studying physics that most people thought was impossible. Her hair had gone gray early from stress. Her eyes carried dark circles from too many sleepless nights. But right now, in this moment, those tired eyes shined with triumph. "It works," she whispered. Then louder, "It works!" Her team rushed over. They looked at the data streaming across the screens. Energy readings that shouldn't exist. Quantum states that remained stable at room temperature. A fundamental breakthrough in how matter and energy could interact. "We can weaponize this?" asked her lead engineer. "We can do more than that," Sora replied. "We can change everything." The Prometheus project was born that day. Its goal was simple but ambitious. Build a warship that could defeat any alien vessel in the galaxy, despite Earth's technological disadvantages. Do it using principles that other species had never explored. Do it in secret. Now, 5 years later, the results of that work floated at a docking port above Valar Prime. Captain Jiwoo walked through the Defiance corridors, running her hand along the walls. To anyone else, they looked like simple metal. But she knew the truth. These walls were woven from carbon nanotubes arranged in patterns that took quantum computers months to calculate. Each square centimeter could absorb and redistribute impact force across the entire hull. A plasma lance that would burn through a Torgan dreadnought's armor would barely scratch the Defiance surface. She entered engineering, where Lieutenant Choi Yuna was performing final system checks. The room hummed with barely contained power. Fusion reactors lined the walls, each one small enough to fit in a closet but powerful enough to run a small city. "Status report," Jiwoo said. Yuna looked up from her console, excitement dancing in her eyes. "All systems are performing above specifications, Captain. The quantum dampeners are masking our true power output perfectly. Their sensors think we're running at 20% capacity. We're actually at 400% and barely warming up. And the new weapons? Lieutenant Kang has been running simulations nonstop. The gravity drive missiles are ready. The railgun capacitors are fully charged. And the quantum-locked rounds?" Yuna paused, her smile growing wider. "Captain, those rounds are going to change warfare. The aliens have never seen anything like them." Jiwoo nodded slowly. "Good, what about the electronic warfare suite?" "Lieutenant Nam says she can crack any Torgan military encryption in under 3 seconds. The Velkari use quantum entanglement for their communications, which is more challenging. But she's confident she can disrupt their coordination if needed." On the bridge, Commander Park Min-ho reviewed tactical data for the 100th time. His screen showed detailed information on every major military species in the galaxy: Torgan battle doctrine, Velkari swarm tactics, shell stealth capabilities, Nethrim siege strategies. Earth had been watching the galaxy for 70 years, ever since achieving basic radio technology. They had listened to alien communications. They had observed their wars. They had studied every battle, every tactic, every weakness. When humanity finally revealed itself to the galaxy, they didn't do it blindly. They did it knowing exactly what they would face. Lieutenant Kang Hyun joined Park at the tactical station. Kang was a weapons specialist who had spent 10 years developing the Defiance arsenal. He was a quiet man, soft-spoken, but when he talked about weapon systems, his passion showed. "Commander, I've been thinking about the Torgan weakness in their targeting systems," Kang said. "They rely on overlapping fields of fire. If we can disrupt their formation synchronization, their advantage disappears." "You think they'll interfere with the trials?" Park asked. "I think Admiral Krevmos is scared," Kang replied. He saw something that bothered him. Maybe he noticed the Defiance heat signature is too low for our supposed reactor output. Maybe he realized our hull composition doesn't match our technological level. Whatever it was, he's going to try something. Park nodded grimly. "I think you're right. We should prepare for the trials to be compromised." In her ready room, Jiwoo met privately with Ambassador Lee. The older man looked concerned. "The council is divided," Lee explained. "The Velkari don't trust us because we're predators. They evolved from prey species and they can sense danger. The Torgans see us as potential competition. Only the Shal seem genuinely curious rather than hostile." "What about the vote?" Jiwoo asked. If we pass the trials, will they actually grant us membership? Lee sighed. Honestly, I don't know. Some species want to welcome us. Others fear us. The problem is that we're unknown. Aliens understand each other because they've been interacting for thousands of years. We're new, unpredictable. So we need to show them exactly what we are, Jiwoo said. No surprises afterward. That's a dangerous game, Captain. If you reveal the Defiant's true capabilities, some species might see it as a threat. They might unite against us. Jiwoo stood and walked to the viewport. Outside, she could see the massive alien warships. Beautiful, powerful, and completely unprepared for what humanity had created. Ambassador, humanity has been the underdog for our entire existence. We survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. We split the atom and reached the moon while fighting amongst ourselves. Every advancement we made came because someone threatened us and we refused to die. She turned back to face Lee. These aliens have been comfortable for too long. They've forgotten what desperation creates. They've forgotten what necessity drives. The Defiant isn't just a ship. It's proof that humans are survivors. And survivors do whatever it takes to win. Lee was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled slightly. You remind me why I still have hope for our species, Captain. Very well. Show them what we are. But be careful. The galaxy's reaction may surprise you. After Lee left, Jiwoo called her senior staff to a secure briefing room. Park, Yuna, Kang, Namjasu from Communications, and Ensign Oh-seung from Navigation all gathered around the table. I need complete honesty, Jiwoo began. Is the Defiant ready for combat? Real combat, not a training simulation? Yes, Yuna said immediately. Every system has been tested and retested. We're ready. Our weapons can engage anything in the Council database, Kang added, and most things that aren't in it. I can disrupt enemy communications and targeting systems faster than they can compensate, Nam said confidently. Navigation systems are optimized, Ensign O reported. The gravity drives will let us maneuver in ways that will seem impossible to observers. Park spoke last. Captain, I've run over 10,000 combat simulations using every piece of intelligence we have on Council militaries. The Defiant can defeat ships 10 times its size. We're ready. Jiwoo looked at each of them. These people had sacrificed years of their lives for this mission. Some had left families behind. All of them had volunteered knowing they might not survive if the mission went wrong. Good, she said finally, because I think the trials are going to be a trap. I think Krevmos is going to try to destroy us and make it look like an accident. And I think we're going to use that trap to send a message the galaxy will never forget. Her crew exchanged glances. Then one by one they smiled. What kind of message, Captain? Yuna asked. Jiwoo's expression was cold and determined. That humanity doesn't build toys. We build weapons. And we build them better than anyone else. The next 2 days passed slowly. The Defiant remained docked, running what appeared to be routine maintenance. In reality, the crew was preparing for war. Every weapon was checked. Every system was calibrated. Every crew member reviewed their combat stations and emergency procedures. On the station, rumors spread. Some said Earth would withdraw from the trials too intimidated to continue. Others claimed the humans were secretly negotiating for an easier test. The betting pools grew larger. Almost everyone predicted Earth would fail within the first 5 minutes. Only Commander Ryuvik of the Shal remained skeptical. He spent hours reviewing every scan of the Defiant, studying every detail. Something didn't add up. The ship's mass distribution suggested hidden systems. The reactor signature was too clean, too efficient. And the crew's behavior showed no fear, no nervousness. They acted like people who knew they were going to win. On the morning of the 3rd day, Jiwoo stood on the bridge in her combat uniform. Her crew was at their stations, calm and focused. Through the viewport, she could see the trial sector, a cleared area of space where the combat drones waited. All hands, this is the captain, she announced over the ship-wide channel. In a few minutes, we enter the trial zone. Everyone watching expects us to fail. They think we're weak, primitive, and outmatched. They're wrong. She paused, letting her words sink in. The Defiant represents 5 years of humanity's best work. It represents the dreams of scientists, the skills of engineers, and the courage of every person who believed we deserved a place among the stars. Today we prove them right. Today we show the galaxy what Earth is capable of. All crew battle stations. Let's make history. The trial sector was a vast empty region of space cleared of asteroids and debris. Observation platforms floated at safe distances, their shields raised, their sensors recording everything. Thousands of aliens watched from those platforms, waiting for the show to begin. Captain Jiwoo sat in her command chair, watching the tactical display. Commander Park stood at his station, hands moving across holographic controls. Lieutenant Kang monitored the weapon systems. Lieutenant Nam kept watch on communications. Ensign Oh-sung handled navigation with steady hands. Lieutenant Yuna's voice came through from engineering, confirming all systems were ready. Observation platforms have taken position, Park reported. Council officials are signaling they're ready to begin. The main view screen showed the council speaker, the ancient Velkari, whose crystalline body glowed with authority. Captain Han Jiwoo of Earth, the combat trials will now commence. You will face 3 waves of automated combat drones. First wave consists of 12 standard combat drones. Second wave consists of 8 advanced tactical drones. Third wave consists of 4 elite combat drones. You must neutralize or survive each wave to proceed to the next. Failure at any stage results in immediate disqualification. Do you understand these terms? Understood, Jiwoo replied calmly. Then let the trials begin. The first wave appeared on sensors immediately. 12 drones, each about 15 meters long, powered by fusion drives and armed with plasma cannons and missile racks. They were standard anti-pirate units, the kind that Council security forces used for routine patrols. Targets acquired, Kang reported. They're spreading into attack formation. Defensive pattern alpha, Jiwoo ordered. Weapons free, but use only conventional responses. No special ammunition yet. The Defiant moved forward smoothly. The drones opened fire first, plasma bolts streaking through space. The human ship banked left, then rolled right, avoiding the shots with practiced ease. Ensign O's hands danced across the controls, making the ship respond like a fighter craft despite its size. Returning fire, Kang announced. Railgun turrets tracked the drones and fired. Solid metal slugs accelerated to tremendous speed, slamming into drone armor. 2 drones exploded immediately. A third lost power and drifted away, disabled but not destroyed. Good shooting, Park said, but the others are adapting. They're using evasive patterns now. The remaining 9 drones scattered, making themselves harder targets. They fired in coordinated bursts, trying to overwhelm the Defiant's defensive capabilities. On the observation platforms, aliens nodded approvingly. The human ship was performing adequately, about as well as expected for a new species, but Jiwoo was barely trying. Lieutenant Nam, are you reading their coordination frequencies? She asked. Yes, Captain, Nam replied from the communications station. Simple encrypted channels, nothing sophisticated. I could jam them easily, but that would show our electronic warfare capabilities. Hold that option for now. Kang, use missiles on the next group. Aye, Captain. Launching conventional missiles. 4 missiles streaked from the Defiant's launch tubes. They appeared ordinary, standard chemical rocket missiles with explosive warheads. 3 drones maneuvered to avoid them, succeeding easily, but the missiles adjusted their course mid-flight, following the drones with unexpected precision. The explosions took out 3 more drones. 6 remained. They're regrouping, Park warned. Concentrating fire on our forward section, plasma bolts hammered into the Defiant's hull. On the observation platform, some aliens leaned forward, expecting to see damage. Instead, the human ship's hull glowed briefly where the plasma hit, then cooled back to normal. No breaches. No armor failure. Hull integrity at 100%, Yuna reported from engineering. Those plasma bolts barely warmed up the outer layer. The last 6 drones fell quickly. 2 to railgun fire, 3 to missiles, and the last one to a direct ramming maneuver that crushed it against the Defiant's reinforced bow. The entire first wave lasted exactly 4 minutes and 12 seconds. On the Council observation platform, Admiral Krevmos frowned. The humans had performed well, better than expected. But still nothing extraordinary. Nothing that justified the confidence he'd seen in their captain's eyes. Begin second wave, the Council speaker announced. 8 new drones appeared. These were larger, better armed, and equipped with energy shields. They moved faster, attacked smarter, and worked together with more sophisticated coordination. Now it gets interesting, Park muttered. The advanced drones didn't waste time with testing attacks. They went straight for kill shots, plasma lances, and particle beams firing in concentrated patterns. The Defiant took several direct hits, its hull glowing brighter this time. Shields would be really useful right about now, Ensign O commented, pulling the ship through a tight spiral to avoid a particularly nasty barrage. We don't have shields, Jiwoo replied. We have something better. Yuna, redistribute hull density to impact zones. Already on it, Captain. Yuna's voice came through. The nanotube weave is adapting. We're effectively immune to their current attack patterns. Kang, use enhanced munitions. Show them we can bite back. With pleasure, Captain. The railguns fired again, but this time the slugs were different. They glowed faintly with contained energy. When they struck the drone's shields, they didn't bounce off. They punched through. The kinetic energy combined with electromagnetic pulses that disrupted the shield generators. 3 drones died in quick succession. The remaining 5 adapted, spreading farther apart and coordinating their attacks to strike from multiple angles simultaneously. They're learning, Park observed. These drones have better AI than the first wave. Then let's teach them a lesson, Jiwoo said. Nam light jamming only. Disrupt their targeting but make it look like natural interference, and understood. Captain. The drones suddenly started missing their shots, their targeting systems confused by subtle electronic warfare they couldn't quite detect. To the casual observer, it looked like they were having technical difficulties. Only the most sophisticated sensors would detect Nam's work. Commander Ryuvik, watching from the Shal observation platform, noticed. His eyes narrowed. He turned to his sensor operator. Are you detecting electronic warfare signatures from the human vessel? Negative, Commander. Nothing on standard frequencies. But the drones are definitely experiencing targeting errors. Interesting, Ryuvik murmured. Very interesting. The second wave ended after 7 minutes. All 8 advanced drones destroyed or disabled. The Defiant showed superficial damage now. Some hull plates glowing from repeated hits, but nothing critical. Nothing that threatened the ship's combat capability. On the observation platforms, the mood shifted. The laughter had stopped. Aliens who had been making jokes now watched silently. The human ship was performing far better than anyone predicted. Admiral Krevmos made his decision. He activated a secure channel to his subordinate aboard one of the control ships. Execute Protocol Omega. Make it look like a system malfunction. Sir, that protocol uses live military weapons. We could destroy the human vessel. That's the point, Krevmos growled. Do it now before they proceed further. In the control room, a Torgan technician's fingers moved across hidden controls. Deep in the combat drone deployment system, military-grade hunter-killers received new orders. They were designed for destroying capital ships, armed with weapons that no training drone should possess. 20 of them launched into the trial sector. Captain, we're detecting new contacts, Park said suddenly. His voice carried alarm. 20 units, but these aren't the designated third-wave drones. These are reading as military-grade hunter-killers. Jiwoo stood up quickly. What? Kang checked his displays. Confirmed. Those are Torgan military drones, heavy assault models. They're armed with anti-capital ship plasma lances. This is wrong, Ensign O said, his hands already moving to defensive maneuvers. The third wave should only be 4 drones. On the council platform, Ambassador Lee shouted in protest. Those aren't training drones. Stop the exercise immediately. The council speaker looked confused, checking her displays. But before she could give an order, the hunter-killers opened fire. Plasma lances designed to pierce dreadnought armor streaked toward the Defiant. These weren't the weak training weapons from before. These were military weapons meant to kill. Admiral Krevmos stood, his face showing mock surprise. There must be a system malfunction. Abort the exercise. Emergency protocols. But it was too late. The hunter-killers had already committed to their attack pattern. Their targeting computers were locked on. They were programmed to destroy, and nothing short of complete destruction would stop them. On the Defiance bridge, alarms screamed. Incoming fire, military-grade weapons, Park shouted. Impact in 10 seconds. The crew looked at their captain. This was it. The moment of decision. They could retreat, call for help, protest the illegal weapons. Or they could do what they'd been trained to do. Jiwoo sat back down in her command chair. Her voice was cold, calm, and absolutely certain. Authorization code, Prometheus Rising. All crew, battle stations. Lieutenant Yuna, disengage quantum dampeners. Show them our true power. Finally, Yuna breathed. Disengaging dampeners now. Throughout the Defiant, safety systems that had hidden its true nature, The plasma lances hit the Defiant's hull with enough energy to vaporize a standard warship. The carbon nanotube weave absorbed the impact, spreading the thermal energy across the entire surface. The ship glowed bright orange for a moment, then the heat dissipated into specially designed radiators. No breach, no damage. The hull held. Direct hit, zero penetration, Una reported from engineering. Hull temperature already dropping back to normal. They're going to need bigger weapons, Captain. On the observation platform, stunned silence fell. The weapons that should have destroyed the human ship had barely scratched it. Impossible, Admiral Krevmos whispered. Then louder, that's impossible. Those were military-grade plasma lances. Commander Ryuvik leaned forward, his reptilian eyes focused completely on the Defiant. No, he said quietly. Not impossible. We've been deceived. Brilliantly deceived. The hunter-killer drones adjusted their attack pattern, programmed to destroy their target at any cost. They spread out, preparing to fire from multiple angles simultaneously. They never got the chance. Lieutenant Nam, execute Electronic Warfare Protocol Delta, Jiwoo ordered. Nam's fingers danced across her console. Executing now. Quantum-encrypted viruses flooded into the hunter-killer's communication network. The code had been specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in Torgan military software. Weaknesses that Earth intelligence had discovered years ago by analyzing captured drone debris from Torgan conflicts. 3 hunter-killers suddenly changed their targeting. Their weapons locked onto their own squadron members. They fired, plasma lances cutting through allied drones before their systems recognized the error and shut down. What are they doing? Someone shouted on the council platform. Why are they shooting each other? Park smiled grimly from his tactical station. Because we're inside their network now. They're ours. Ensign O, evasive pattern Delta 7, Jiwoo commanded. Aye, Captain. Engaging gravity drives at full power. The Defiant moved. Not like a ship. Like a dancer. Like a predator. The gravity manipulation drives bent space-time around the vessel, allowing it to accelerate and turn in ways that conventional physics said should be impossible. The ship spun through 3 dimensions, dodging incoming fire with ease. Impossible, breathed a Velkari observer. No ship that size should maneuver like that. The G-forces would crush the crew, but the Defiant's inertial dampeners were far beyond what the Council understood. The crew felt nothing except the gentle push of normal shipboard gravity. Target clusters Alpha and Beta, Commander Park ordered, his tactical training taking over. Fire pattern Yamato. Firing, Lieutenant Kang confirmed. The Defiant's weapons opened up with their true power. Railguns that had seemed ordinary suddenly revealed themselves as gravity-assisted accelerators, firing slugs at 0.3 light speed. Each impact carried the force of a tactical nuclear weapon. 4 hunter-killers exploded simultaneously, torn apart by relativistic projectiles they never saw coming. The missile tubes fired next. What emerged weren't the simple chemical rockets from earlier. These were fusion torch missiles, each guided by an AI that could think and adapt faster than any alien targeting computer. They wove through defensive fire, predicted evasive maneuvers, and struck with devastating precision. 3 more hunter-killers died in a chain of fusion explosions that lit up the trial sector like artificial stars. 10 enemies remaining, Park reported. They're trying to regroup. Don't let them, Jiwoo said. Kang, use the Ragnarok rounds. Kang's eyes lit up. Captain, are you sure? We've never tested those in actual combat. I'm sure. Fire at will. The railguns fired again. These rounds looked no different from the others, but they carried humanity's most sophisticated weapon technology. Quantum-locked projectiles that existed partially outside normal spacetime, allowing them to phase through energy shields and solid matter. They passed through the hunter-killer's armor as if it didn't exist. Then, once inside, they detonated directly in the reactor cores. 7 hunter-killers exploded from within, their power systems catastrophically overloading. The blasts were so violent that nearby drones were damaged by the shockwaves. 3 enemies left, Park announced. They're activating emergency retreat protocols. Negative, Jiwoo said coldly. They tried to kill us. They don't get to run. Nam, maintain electronic warfare suppression. Kang, finish them. The last 3 hunter-killers died quickly, one to a railgun slug that split it in half, another to a missile that turned its own ammunition bay into a bomb. The third tried to use its allies' debris as cover, but the Defiant's sensors saw through the trick. A precisely aimed shot ended it. Total engagement time, 2 minutes and 47 seconds. 20 military-grade hunter-killers destroyed. The Defiant undamaged except for some cosmetic hull scoring. The trial sector fell silent. Then slowly the observation platforms exploded with activity. Aliens of every species talked at once, their voices mixing into chaos. Some shouted in anger, others in fear, many in simple shock. On the council platform, Ambassador Lee stood with his arms crossed, his face showing satisfaction. "I believe Earth has passed the third wave," he said calmly. "Though these weren't the designated drones, we adapted to the situation." The council speaker's crystalline body flashed with confused colors. This is unprecedented. The power output we're detecting from the human vessel. The weapons capability, the electronic warfare. Captain Han Jiwoo, explain yourself immediately. Jiwoo's image appeared on all the observation screens. She looked composed, professional, and completely unafraid. "We built a warship as requested for fleet trials. You asked us to demonstrate its capabilities against combat drones. We have done so. If the drones used were not the correct ones, that is not Earth's fault." "You deceived us," the Valkyrie Queen accused, her translator carrying tones of anger. "You let us believe your ship was primitive. You hid your true technological level." "We hid nothing," Jiwoo replied firmly. "We submitted our ship for evaluation. If your sensors failed to properly analyze it, if your experts failed to ask the right questions, if you made assumptions based on our newness to the galaxy, those are your errors, not our deception." Admiral Krevmos pointed an accusing finger at the screen. "This was a trap. You knew something would go wrong with the drones." "Did we?" Jiwoo's expression was cold. "Or did we simply prepare for the possibility that someone might not want Earth to succeed? Someone who might sabotage the trials? Someone who might try to murder my crew and blame it on a convenient accident?" Krevmos's face darkened, but he said nothing. The evidence was clear. The hunter-killers had been his, launched from his control systems. If he protested too much, he would admit his guilt. Commander Ryuvik stood slowly. The Shal commander was the only alien who didn't look shocked or angry. He looked thoughtful, calculating. "I request permission to speak." The council speaker gestured for him to continue. "I have studied Earth's history," Ryuvik began. "They are a young species, only recently achieving interstellar flight. But their history is violent. 10,000 years of constant warfare. They developed nuclear weapons while still bound to their home planet. They created artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and nanotechnology, not through gradual discovery like most species, but through desperate arms races." He turned to face Jiwoo's image. "The Defiant represents something most of us cannot truly understand. Centuries of military innovation compressed into a single vessel. Weapons designed not for show or deterrence, but for actual war, for survival." He paused, then continued. "I suspected deception when I first saw the Defiant specifications. The numbers didn't match. The design was too simple, too clean. But I couldn't prove it because humans are very good at hiding things. They've been hiding from each other for millennia." Ryuvik looked around at the other council members. "The question we must ask ourselves is not whether Earth deceived us. The question is, do we welcome them as equals or do we treat them as threats?" The Valkyrie Queen spoke sharply. "They built a ship that can destroy vessels 10 times its size. They hid technology that rivals our most advanced systems. How can we trust them?" "How can they trust us?" Ryuvik countered. "Someone just tried to murder their crew with military weapons during what should have been a peaceful trial. If I were Captain Han Jiwoo, I would think very carefully about joining a council that allows such actions." That statement created a new wave of arguments. Accusations flew between delegations. The Torgans blamed system malfunctions. Others demanded investigations. The council chamber descended into chaos. Ambassador Lee watched it all with satisfaction. Chaos meant confusion. Confusion meant opportunity. And opportunity was what Earth needed most. On the Defiance Bridge, Jiwoo watched the arguing aliens with a small smile. "Think they're impressed?" Lieutenant Kang asked. "They're terrified," Commander Park answered, "which is almost as good." "Captain, we're receiving priority communications from multiple delegations," Nam reported. "The Shao want to open diplomatic channels. The Nethrim are requesting information about our defensive technology. Even some of the smaller species are asking about trade agreements." The council emergency session began 3 hours after the trials ended. Every delegation packed the chamber. and for the first time in decades, no one was absent. What had happened in the trial sector affected everyone, and everyone wanted answers. Captain Jiwoo attended with Ambassador Lee. They sat in the designated human section, surrounded by species that now looked at them with new eyes. Some showed respect. Others showed fear. A few showed barely concealed hostility. The council speaker called for order. We will address the events of today in two parts. First, the matter of Admiral Krevmos and the unauthorized use of military drones. Second, the matter of Earth's vessel and its undisclosed capabilities. Admiral Krevmos stood, his massive frame attempting to project authority. The deployment of military drones was a system error, nothing more. A tragic accident that could have resulted in loss of life. I recommend Earth be given another opportunity to complete the trials properly, with correct equipment. Liar, Ambassador Lee said clearly, his voice carrying across the chamber. The room fell silent. Aliens didn't interrupt council proceedings. It was considered deeply disrespectful. Lee continued, standing to address the chamber. We have recordings from the deployment system. The military drones were activated manually, using Admiral Krevmos's personal authorization codes. The command was given 30 seconds before the third wave should have launched. This was no accident. This was attempted murder. A Velkari technician confirmed the data. The evidence was undeniable. Krevmos had deliberately tried to destroy the Defiant and kill its crew. You have no proof I intended harm? Krevmos protested, but his voice lacked conviction. It could have been a security breach. Someone using stolen codes. Your species uses biometric authentication, Commander Ryuvik said from the shell section. Your codes cannot be stolen. You gave that order personally, Admiral. The question is why? Krevmos remained silent, trapped by the evidence. The council speaker's crystalline body glowed with angry colors. Admiral Krevmos, you are hereby stripped of your position and recalled to face Torgan justice. Your actions have brought shame to your species and violated the most fundamental rules of council conduct. Leave this chamber immediately. Krevmos stood slowly, his face dark with humiliation. As he walked toward the exit, he passed close to the human section. He looked at Jiwoo and she met his eyes without flinching. You haven't won, he said quietly. You've just made enemies. We already had enemies, Jiwoo replied calmly. Now they know to fear us. That's better than being liked. After Krevmos left, the council speaker turned her attention to Earth. Captain Han Jiwoo, Ambassador Lee Dae-hyun, you will now address the council regarding your vessel's capabilities. Jiwoo stood and walked to the central platform. Every eye in the chamber focused on her. She felt the weight of billions of people back on Earth, all waiting to hear how this moment would shape humanity's future. The Defiant is a warship, she began simply. We built it to survive, to fight, and to win. We use technology that we developed ourselves, following principles that other species apparently never explored. Why hide your capabilities? The Velkari Queen demanded. Why deceive us? We didn't deceive anyone, Jiwoo replied firmly. We submitted our ship for evaluation as required. We answered every question asked truthfully. But you didn't ask the right questions. You saw a small ship from a new species and assumed we were primitive. That assumption was your mistake, not our deception. A delegate from a species called the Nethrim spoke up. But surely you knew we would underestimate you. You could have corrected our assumptions. Could we? Jiwoo asked. If we had claimed advanced technology, would you have believed us? Or would you have laughed harder? Would you have taken us seriously? Or dismissed us as boastful children? Silence, they all knew the answer. Jiwoo continued. Earth has been watching the galaxy for 70 years. We listened to your communications. We studied your conflicts. We learned everything we could before revealing ourselves. And what we learned is that the galaxy respects strength. Nothing else matters as much. Not wisdom, not art, not diplomacy. Just strength. She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many aliens as she could. So we built strength. We took our species' 10,000 years of warfare, all our desperate innovations, all our survival instincts, and we poured them into one ship. Not to threaten you, not to conquer you, but to prove that humanity deserves a seat at this table. Commander Ryuvik stood again. The captain speaks truth. I have reviewed Earth's history. They are perhaps the most militaristic species to ever apply for council membership. They have fought more wars, developed more weapons, and refined the art of combat to a level that most of us cannot comprehend. He paused. But they are also survivors. They lived on a single planet for their entire existence until recently, and they nearly destroyed themselves multiple times. They know the cost of war better than any of us. The Defiant is not a threat to the Council. It is proof that humanity understands what it takes to survive in a dangerous universe. The Velkari Queen's colors shifted to thoughtful patterns. You speak as if you advocate for Earth's membership, Commander Ryuvik. I do, Ryuvik replied. The Shal delegation votes to accept Earth as a full Council member. We believe humanity will bring valuable perspectives to our community. The vote began. It was not unanimous. Several species abstained, clearly uncomfortable with Earth's military capability. The Torgans voted against, though without Krevmos's influence their objection carried less weight. But slowly the count grew. When the Council speaker announced the results, Earth had achieved the necessary majority. Humanity was now a full member of the Galactic Council. Ambassador Lee stood and bowed formally. Earth thanks the Council for this honor. We pledge to uphold Council laws and contribute to the galactic community. But the session wasn't over. As delegates began to leave, several approached the human section privately. Commander Ryuvik arrived first. Captain Jiwoo, the Shal government wishes to discuss mutual defense arrangements. We have territories near the Torgan border that would benefit from advanced defensive technology. Perhaps Earth would be interested in an exchange. Our stealth systems for your electronic warfare capabilities? Before Jiwoo could respond, a Nethrim delegate approached. My species controls the largest trade networks in this sector. We would like to discuss opening those networks to Earth vessels, for a reasonable partnership fee, of course. More offers came: scientific exchanges, technology trades, military cooperation agreements. In the span of 30 minutes, Earth went from isolated newcomers to sought-after partners. Ambassador Lee handled most of the diplomatic discussions, but he kept glancing at Jiwoo with barely concealed satisfaction. This was exactly what they'd hoped for. Not just membership, but respect. Not just acceptance, but partnership. Later, back aboard the Defiant, the crew gathered in the main briefing room. They had done it. The mission was complete. Earth had achieved what many thought impossible. What happens now? Lieutenant Yuna asked. Do we go home? Commander Park shook his head. I've been reviewing the new orders from Earth Command. 3 more ships of the Prometheus project have finished construction. The Challenger, the Resolute, and the Indomitable. They'll be joining us here to form Earth's first deep space fleet. Lieutenant Kang grinned. A fleet. Earth has an actual fleet now, and we'll need it, Jiwoo said seriously. The Council has requested our assistance with pirate problems near the frontier colonies. Apparently, local security forces are having trouble with organized raider groups. They want us to do their dirty work, Lieutenant Nam observed. No, Jiwoo corrected. They want to see what we can do against real opponents. The trials proved we can destroy drones. Now they want to see how we handle actual combat situations. Sounds like fun, Kang said with dark humor. Ensign Oh-sung looked thoughtful. Captain, do you think we did the right thing? Hiding our capabilities, letting them underestimate us. Some of the aliens seemed genuinely angry about it. Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. Ensign, humanity has been the underdog for its entire existence. We evolved on a harsh planet. We survived ice ages, plagues, and our own worst impulses. Every step forward came because we were smart, adaptable, and willing to do whatever it took to survive. She looked around at her crew. The galaxy isn't kind to the weak. It isn't fair to the honest. If we had revealed our true strength immediately, some species would have seen us as threats and tried to destroy us before we got established. Others would have tried to steal our technology. By appearing weak first, we controlled the narrative. We chose when to reveal our strength, and we did it in a way that made us valuable allies rather than dangerous enemies. So we played politics, Park said. We played survival, Jiwoo corrected. Politics is just another kind of warfare. Earth has been playing it for thousands of years. We're just applying those lessons on a larger stage now. The crew absorbed this. They were military people trained for combat. But they were also humanity's ambassadors to the galaxy, and that meant understanding more than just tactics and weapons.